So you just said that you didn't have your mom mug here, and I don't know if we have ever said what my mug says.
No.
My mug says, first we drink blah, 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 blah. First we drink the coffee, then we do the things.
My goodness. And you just proved exactly why we drink the coffee and then we do the things because words don't work this early in the morning after cheer comps and everything else. And like, hey, it's season 4.
Welcome to season 4 with Allie and Amy.
Hi. We have a really special season this season. How many times can we say season in this episode?
Let's see if we can keep saying it more and more and more. No, let's not.
Okay.
I'm so excited about the season. And I have like so many things to tell you about it that like I don't even know if we're on the same page. So like it's so good. Of
Oh my goodness, I'm so excited. And so, should we tell our listeners what this season is?
of course we should.
Okay, so this season we are going to be talking about the invisible mom. And for so many of our listeners, obviously it's a very female-driven podcast, but there's lots of men I think that also listen. And I mean, maybe it will give you clues about your wife or your partner or whoever.
I think it's
Um,
important. I think it's important for anyone to know that so many moms, whether it's true or not, frequently feel like the invisible mom.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, like, I have to say, one of the things that kind of is just space. And so for anybody who watches our YouTube post, versus just listening to us, like, I feel like I'm just in a different mindset also.
But you cut out there for a minute. So I sort of missed a little bit of what you said, which is really
Oh
unfortunate.
no. It is. It said my connection is unstable, but that's okay. We'll see. It could be the new location I was telling you all about. That for our YouTube listeners, that I am in a different mindset. I'm in a new office, like not just podcasting from my home office, which is a big deal because it makes me feel a little less invisible, actually.
My mom is moving and I was at her house this weekend and I took a bunch of plants from her space and because she's downsizing a little bit. And your plant in your office is making me think that one of those plants that I was putting around my house needs to move into my office because wouldn't it look nice with a plant in the corner? So,
Yes.
I'm inspired to have some living things amongst me. Um, so that maybe some extra life in my office will make me less invisible. So
Yes,
Amy, why don't
absolutely.
you tell us a little bit about your definition of the invisible mom so that other moms can see if they feel the same way, if they resonate.
Absolutely. And again, apologizing because still working through the connection. So if I do kind of cut out, just let me know. Um, so one of the things that I really feel makes me feel invisible, and again, only speaking to my experiences, I mean, but other people probably can relate a bit, is that I have two teenagers and they constantly have their own lives at this point, 13 and 16. I'm just a fixture in the house that is there for doing dishes, getting meals, providing snacks. I'm the sounding board when they're having a bad day. I'm also their cheerleader when they're having a great day. Although I do cheer them on no matter what, because again, that's what moms do. Um, I'm the backlash for anything that goes wrong. I'm basically their driver. I think sometimes I feel like I work at a hotel and like I'm the maid, I'm the room service,
Uber.
I'm the car driver. Like it's like they live this fancy life, but they don't. They're just kids, and this is every kid everywhere. But like if you think about it, as adults, if we had a chauffeur and a maid and a chef and everything else, that's basically the definition of a mom or a full-time parent. Like, because I don't want to exclude the dads on this either, because there's some dads doing the same thing. Especially if moms are out working or there's no mom or there's two dads. It doesn't matter. Like this dynamic does not matter. But I am the parent that is constantly going when they're at my house. They do go to their dad's as well, and they obviously do a great job over there. But I mean, I'm still mom. So I'm still that driver oftentimes for school and sporting events and things like that, or if they just want to go to town. So a lot of times I just feel invisible because it's just they need me and I am able to satisfy those needs. But I feel like it's taken for granted sometimes. And my kids are very polite and very kind, but nonetheless, like they don't understand what kind of impact it is to our day when we have to change our schedule 5 times because now their schedule has changed 5 times and they expect that we can just simply just drop everything and accommodate it. So to me, this is what the invisible mom is, or you're making dinner and this is the dinner you planned, but yet that wasn't quite what they felt. And they think there should be maybe another dinner, or what am I going to have? I'm like, you know, and we can get into more of the details later, but these are the things that make me feel invisible.
One of the big things is that we want moms out there or caregivers, whatever, to know that we see you. We see you. We need to band together. We need to appreciate each other. And you know what? Sometimes, when we were teenagers, we probably didn't appreciate our mom as much as we do now. And so, we're not really bashing on our kids, but what we want to do
No.
is we want to see each other and we want to recognize where sometimes we feel these things and recognize that it's okay to have feelings, right? It's okay to recognize those feelings and come up with ways to help avoid those feelings. I'm going through a phase with my son right now where I'm lucky if I get the grunt. And so it's really funny because when I get up in the morning, I'm excited to see them and I want to talk to them. And what I've realized about my children is that they don't love to talk in the morning. And truth be told, like I think that I'm not a big talker in the morning either. I like to have my coffee before I do all the things. And so what I have noticed is that especially in the mornings, if I'm trying to be really talkative or whatever, I'm going to get the grunt. And my son has to leave at 7:15 in the morning, so he's up earlier than he's used to this year. And so when I wake up in the morning and I try to engage with him, he really shuts down and does not engage back, which is very hurtful to me. And I don't think it's intentional. And what's been important to me is realizing that it's not intentional. He is not a morning person. He never has been. So we have this awesome new thing that's happening. And so I wake up in the morning and I make my coffee and I do a couple things. And then he usually has about 5 or 10 minutes that he sits on his phone on the couch in the morning. So I have now gone and sat on the other side of the couch and I haven't spoken. So just picture this. So he is used to me coming down and being like, hey, good morning. Da, 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 da. And so I am now sitting on the couch. I have not spoken. I might look at him. He sort of is on his phone pretending he doesn't know I exist. And then he kind of is confused of why I am not speaking. And so I can feel him looking at me. And then I'm like continuing to stay silent, which is very, very hard because I don't like to talk in the morning, but to my kids, I do. Like, I just want to talk to them. I want to hug them and squeeze them and love them and all the things. And so I just wait. And so I pull up my laptop or my phone or whatever, and I'm, just being occupied, but I'm not really. And I just wait and he's weirded out, like totally weirded out. And then it's time for him to leave. And he's like, he looks over at me and he kind of makes a little grunting noise and he's like, bye, have a nice day.
I love it.
And and I'm like, you have a great day too. I love you. And I'm like, I probably overdid it. I'm like, oh, refrain. But I was like, such a good morning. And you could just see he's got like this little smirk and he's like a little bit of a comedian, sort of like loves to push my buttons. And as he's leaving, I'm like, I think he freaking is a dink to me because he enjoys frustrating me. And so, like, half of the reason why he probably grunts at me is because he thinks it's entertaining. And I'm like, I've just won the entertainment factor today. Kudos to me.
I love that.
This is one of the ways that I think is really important for us. So I noticed, and I think this is really, really important, is that when we first, came up with the idea for this season of The Invisible Mom, I started thinking about all of the ways that I felt invisible and all the things. And to be super honest, I sort of spiraled. And like I sort of like started to believe that story more than I already believed it. And so it's one thing that we really need to be, and it's one of the coaching practices that I coach is, what is the story that we're telling ourselves? What is that story? And is it a story we want to change? Is it a story we want to reverse? Like, what do we want to do? Because what we make true becomes true. And so I don't know what that expression is that some famous person says, but so for me, I was like, okay, I'm starting to like buy into this almost to like a depressiveness, right? Because I do believe that we're all the invisible mom. I do, but I think that you can almost like have a really big pity party there. And so I caution everyone that that is not our intention. We want to make you feel seen, and that is very important to us. And what an awesome way for me to reverse the morning. And now instead of feeling unseen and unloved, I was like, yeah, I win. I win. So I encourage you, if you also have a teen who's giving you the grunt signal, try to reverse it. Try to reverse it. See how long they can go without speaking to you. It doesn't last long at all.
See, and I think that's great. And I don't have, I mean, I have sleepy children in the morning. And the way our morning goes is that I get up and I make sure that my 13-year-old is up because sometimes alarms aren't heard or whatever happens. And I just want to make sure that he's going so that by the time the 16-year-old's ready to get into the bathroom, that they're not butting heads and having arguments in the morning. Um, but usually I kind of just leave him then. Like I make sure he's up and then I go and I get myself ready. I don't even go out anymore because I don't have to get them breakfast. They do their own things. And then sometimes I get a moment where my 13-year-old usually goes back to his room and does whatever he's going to do, plays video games, gets ready, who knows. But my 16-year-old will sometimes come out and sit on the couch when she's ready. And then I quietly go and I do the same thing. I get my coffee and I just perch myself in the corner on my phone and I kind of just sit there and like they're very good. They'll say hi in the morning or whatever, but they're often just in their own little routine. And so I just kind of sit there and I just like to be in the moment. And then they often don't talk to me. Same thing. There's not a lot of conversation that goes on, but it's like they say hello or whatever. And then it's usually like, okay, now we're going to school. So like everybody is ready and go. But it's just kind of nice to sit in those quiet moments with them, even if they're not talking.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah. And speaking of talking, the car. Can we talk about how the car is the best place to talk to teenagers? Because, like, the car is my favorite thing. And I remember when my son was big enough to sit in the front seat and my daughter wasn't, I was like, I cannot wait until you can sit in the front seat. And front seat conversations are my absolute favorite. Like, if you get a kid alone in the car and just wait for them to share, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
If, like, the walls of the car could talk, it knows all the secrets.
And sometimes you can even just like ask like generic, like, how is your day questions? And then that causes them to open up as well, which is nice because I do get a lot more from my daughter in our car talks, but that's also a cheer thing. Like, there's some venting that happens after cheer sometimes, or just like excitement that happens. So you get a lot more conversation from girls sometimes, I find. I don't know how it is with your son with hockey, but my son, it's kind of like it's a little quiet and then sometimes I can like poke a little just general questions, how was your day, and then I'll get a little more. But I do like those car conversations and I do find that you're right, it's kind of you're just awkwardly sitting there if there's no talking going on, and if someone's having a bad day you might just get that anyway, but it is nice to have them open up.
But I think that the important part that you brought up too is that like feel into the quiet moments because they are pretty special, right? Like we live in a world where we're always like inundating ourselves with stuff, whether we're always on our phone or we're always like, even as individual people, we're not embracing quiet. We're trying to fill every moment with something, whether we're multitasking and listening to something while we're doing something, or we've got the radio on in the background or whatever. Like learning to be still in the silence, even when you're with another person, is pretty magical. And if you can like give yourself the grace of that silence, it's actually really, really cool. But going back to the car, I find that if both parents are in the car, I find that it's not the same if I'm just alone. And both of my kids are better talkers alone with me in the car, which is super, super fun. Um, and I just, yeah, I love the car for that.
No, that's
So,
awesome.
and then anyone who has like younger kids, right? Like, I mean, like it's kind of like this thing when you had a baby and some babies sleep in the car, like it's a great place. The car is a great place. But for those people who have younger kids who like maybe aren't telling them about their day, my recommendation is to stew up the question. Like if you ask somebody, how was your day? They're like, it was fine. It was fine. But if you want more, like, who farted today? Like ask them like silly questions. Like, did anyone get in trouble in class today? Like
Yeah,
ask them different questions to get different answers. What are you doing in gym class? What like, silly questions like about who farted, things like that. Did anyone go to the office today? Like to find out the you got to ask the right questions.
yeah, yeah. Anyone fall asleep in class today? If you have teenagers, how were your professors today? Whatever, it doesn't matter how old your kids are. Like, yeah, what did your teacher have for lunch today? Did she eat a sandwich in her class? Like some kids eat lunch in the classroom, so I'm sure there's or they eat lunch with their kids in the cafeteria. So like there's always things that you can ask, and like kids are not scared to share with their teachers what you did at school or what you did at home that day. And they'll share at school all the time. I've heard so many stories from teachers that are like, kids really say the funniest things. So like I'm sure that there's something on the flip side of that, and like just yeah, who made a joke in school today? What did you do on the playground?
I
Lots of things
always
that you can
wonder
ask.
what my kids' teachers know about me. Like all these years, like all the things, um it's mind boggling.
Right.
Um so I learned this weekend that when I was little, we called it Nicky Nicky Nine Doors,
Yep.
and now it's called Ding Dong Ditch.
Oh.
Um, and what people don't realize is that a lot of people have cameras on the front of their houses.
Yeah.
So for those people who play Ding Dong Ditch, there's now video footage of it. So Kenzie had a classmate this weekend who two boys who were playing basketball on the street, and two of the group of boys came and ding dong ditched. And Kenzie wasn't even home. But there is now video footage. And so I think my daughter is really excited about this video footage. I think she's going to ask them today about their ding dong ditching,
That's
which I just
awesome.
think is hilarious.
It is hilarious. And you're right. Like it's just such a different world from when we were younger. But yeah, you'll have to keep us posted on how that goes if she got to see the video. Another thing I wanted to ask you, so like because this is episode 1 of season 4, what was the moment that you felt invisible? Like when you felt like you disappeared, and it may be different times for both your kids, or maybe it was like at the same moment and you're just like poof, you were gone. But what was the moment that you felt like you disappeared, like you were invisible?
I feel like it comes and goes. I feel like I would say like there's probably at least, a few times in a week that I feel like invisible for sure. Like even in our house, like it's been years since we've tucked the kids into bed. They tuck themselves into bed. Like that's just, they get to an age where they just do that. And like my daughter loves to hug my husband goodnight. And sometimes she'll be like, meh, and she just goes, or like, I feel like frequently in our house, in an entertaining way, they all team up against me. And it starts as humorous and fun, but sometimes it hurts. Like sometimes
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, like it, oh. Um, and so like there's just frequent times where um it's like I think that the newness of teenagehood and the like grunting and ignoring, that you ask them questions and they don't answer, but if you don't answer the first time they ask, they'll say mom 80 times and yell at you that you never answer. And I'm like, who never answers? Like rewind what?
Yeah.
So like a lot of that I think is affects me. And sometimes it's the lack of thank yous. Like I know my kids have manners, I know that they're grateful, but again, like they just forget, or they like are oblivious to the fact that, I have a work schedule and I have clients and like my schedule varies all the time. But like that expectation that like they get home and like I'm immediately going to be available, or,
Yeah.
we have a family calendar where we put things in the family calendar. And so they will assume that since nothing's in the family calendar, that I'm available. Like I have my own calendar too, and my own calendar might have things in it. So it's sort of the juggling of like their independence and separation, because it's important that they develop those skills of independence and decision making and all those things. But as a mom, the more independent they get, the less needed you feel.
Yeah.
And like I even see that in my own parents. Like when my parents are here, it's so funny because like we'll be going out and my mom will be like, "Did you lock the door? Do you have your purse? Do you have?" I'm like, 40-year-old adult. Like, yes, I've got this. And what's interesting is that it's like the child in me comes out and I'm annoyed. And then I'm trying to cycle that back into myself of being like, oh yeah, that's why my kids are annoyed when I ask them those things. So I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, like try to refrain from asking them those things so that I'm not annoying and cringy. But let them learn that like if you forget your things, like Kenzie went to cheer once and forgot her cheer shoes and she had to tumble in bare feet and she did not enjoy that. Like, thank goodness she's not a gymnast because she does not like the way her ankles feel. She wears the high top shoes. So
Right.
her ankles don't feel great when she tumbles without them. I mean, my son once forgot his jock for hockey and we went back and got that because I feel like it's not fair to, risk his future in that scenario. But like if he had forgotten something else, like it's on him, right? Like if he doesn't bring water, I guess you're going to be thirsty. Um, and that's kind of the lessons that they get so that they can create that independence. And I don't do that nagging asking because I think my parents still do it to me, and
Yeah.
that's not something that I love. And they don't do it because they're being mean, they're doing it
Yeah.
because it's a loving nature and it's how we receive it, right? So I also think that as I've been pondering this whole season, it's helping me to realize that the invisible mom is an interpretation that I am giving a situation, and perhaps it's not even true.
Yeah. Yeah, like our kids very well may be very aware of everything else that's going on too. And they don't know how to articulate and how to accommodate and how to plan and how to schedule around us either. Like they're kids, they don't have to manage a schedule. We're helping them learn how to manage a schedule and how to plan better. But they also don't know. So it's not always that they really think that we're invisible and they really don't care about us or care about the situation or whatever it is going on,
When I
but they
think
really
for
just don't know.
Yeah, well, and for me, we're a very vocal house. Like I say it like it is. And so there have been moments where I've told them that I feel invisible and I've told them how they make me feel.
Yep.
And I think it's important to share feelings. And I think sometimes I have emotionally bomb dropped on them and left the room. And we've used texting as a form of parenting sometimes. And like sometimes when you message them in a text and say, I didn't mean to be that dramatic, but like it's important how I feel. It is amazing to me over text, which sounds so impersonal, but over text, how much easier it is for them to communicate sometimes. And like
Yep.
I've had my children say emotional things to me over text that I'm like, oh, they do love me after all. Right. And like
Yep.
even the things of like when I was at my mom's this weekend, even when they text me and say, hey, mom, when are you coming home? Because they don't remember when I told them that I was even going. So they've got home, they've realized I'm gone. They forgot to say goodbye to me in a loving way. And now the fact that they're asking when I'm coming home, that's a pretty loving thing to me. Now, I could choose to be like, oh, they just want to know when I'm home so I can take them somewhere. Or I can receive that of like, they feel the absence of me in the house. And
Yep.
isn't that a beautiful thing?
Yeah, and I get that too. I can tell that because my kids can get their own food, so I know that they're not just waiting to see when I'm coming home because they want me to
They're
prepare
not just
food and snacks.
hungry.
They're not always just hungry. They actually like my son, especially when we're gone for cheer comps, he's like, "When are you home? Like when am I gonna have company? When are you gonna be here?" when can I see you? Because he would be sleeping when we leave in the morning and then I wouldn't see him. So I do feel the same as you, and that's how I choose to receive that. And one of the other key points you made is just them recognizing when things maybe when they didn't show enough love or enough care. But it's nice as they get older, my 16-year-old right now, like I can have a conversation and I can get upset and be like, I don't think that you handled this situation well. This is what I'm doing in my day and how you have affected my schedule or my day, whatever I'm doing. And she'll be upset. And because, nobody likes being told that they did something wrong or that they didn't act the way that you felt that they should. And then afterwards, I can feel like, maybe I was a bit hard on them because it was whatever the day was. So I can easily like send a text and be like, I'm sorry how I handled that because I just need you to know that like sometimes when you do this, this is how my day is impacted, or you shouldn't always feel this way, especially because I'm going out of my way to do these things. And then the message I get back is, you're right. Like, you shouldn't be sorry. I'm sorry. And, you know, I'll be more appreciative, or I will take that into consideration next time. And she's
And
16. So sometimes she will and sometimes she won't. Right.
and what's so important here is that you're modeling an apology, right?
Yes.
And so like so often we underestimate the importance of that. Like so I've always apologized to my kids. And, I think an apology that's not asked for is so important. And so the more they see you apologize to your friends, to your loved ones, to whoever, the more they will learn to like embrace that themselves, right?
That's
Like
right.
I often don't feel that like if I'm telling you to apologize, like it doesn't really mean as much. And so the more we can apologize and appreciate that we're human and we make mistakes, or sometimes we get emotional and release those things. Like how beautiful is that we're modeling such healthy, good behavior. So um everyone as parents should do more of that for sure.
Uh, Absolutely. And I think for me, the moment that I first felt invisible, or maybe not even invisible, like if we put a title on it, invisible, but maybe the moment that I felt less needed. And sometimes we interpret that as being invisible just because, like you said, they grow up and they don't need us as much. Would be like when both kids started like going in their rooms to hang out. They wanted to hang out less with me.
Mm.
They wanted to hang out with their friends on social or whatever, like talk on the phone or text them or play games or whatever, play Roblox together, whatever it may be. But it was more time with their friends. And that was the first time that I felt a little more invisible and a little less needed. But as they get older, I realized my daughter was getting picked up by a friend to go to youth group, and I didn't need to drive her. And not that I'm always the driver, like there's other parents and we carpool and share, but she actually had a friend come and get her. And I was like,
Mm.
oh, all right, well, bye. Like, and I was happy where she was going. Like, there was no issues with anything. Like, it was just a moment that I felt like kind of just like, I don't know, like you feel invisible a little bit. And it wasn't that you weren't seen at that point, you just weren't needed. And so sometimes I
Mhm.
think that some of this feeling that we feel is not always just about being invisible. There's lots of other examples we have, and we'll get into that this season. But I think some of it is just like really, we're not always as needed as they grow up.
Mhm. It's such an interesting dynamic, right? Because there's that whole like so at some points they need you more. Like if they're dealing with friend drama or whatever, they need you more, and it's that guidance phase. But it's also such a sign that we've done our jobs, right? Like ultimately our jobs as parents is to, you know, help them learn their way in the world. And so when they go off on their own, whether it's on a bike or a scooter or in a car, it's, another step in the process that growth is happening. And, it's exciting and sad all at the same time because it's so true. Like I look at, I was at an event with some women yesterday, and it was, we're all at different stages of lives and some of them have babies, and I'm like, oh, I remember people telling me it goes by so fast, but like It really truly does. And each phase is different. And as much as I love this phase, I miss the last phase. And we were in a restaurant the other day, and a little toddler walked up to the table, and that little walk that they have where they're like wobbly and their little
Mhm.
feet, and they I was like, oh, I miss that walk, right? Like, and so it's really the joy of all of it. And um and acknowledging what those invisible moments mean, and what they and being careful of what they also don't mean, and that what story we're giving them, what explanation we're giving them, and opening up the dialogue to make sure that we're not sitting in those feelings without saying something, because it's important for our children to learn um, to notice and absorb other people, not absorb, but like notice and be aware of other people's feelings and reactions and how they're treating them. Um, so yeah, it's another stage of the process. And when our kids are toddlers and they're screaming at us and needing 500 things, we feel exhausted and completely, used up. And it's interesting how it moves into that invisibility for sure.
Yeah. And I know that we have a lot of exciting topics and episodes and conversation discussion about feeling invisible and all the other sides of it that go with it. I think what this season you're going to see a little bit different than previous seasons. We're going to give you a sneak peek of what the next episode is going to be. And so, if you're good with me doing this, Allie, I think that we should tell them what episode 2 is.
Yes, but before we do, if today's episode resonated with you at all, I want you to think of those other women in your life who you love on. And perhaps what you could do is you could forward them today's episode. Let them know that we're here. Let them know that we see you and we see them. And be sure to share this so that no mom continues to feel invisible. So
Yes,
please
absolutely.
share. And anytime you feel invisible, let us know what that looks like for you. And maybe we can talk about that and help you feel better in that situation too.
Yeah, we'd love to do that. So anytime reach out on socials, send us a message, email. All of our information is on our social pages under Sweet Insights with Ali and Amy. And again, we are here for you. So next week, next episode, because I think we're doing weekly episodes, like that's our plan. Why being needed feels better than being rested. And everyone can probably relate to that because we go, 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 go. So the two of us are going to be the perfect example. So we'll be able to talk all about this next
Guilty.
episode. Guilty. So we just want you to remember that we see you and we're here for you in any way that we can be here.
Thanks, Amy.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye, everyone.